Every time my husband comes home from work and he says, "How was your Facebook Live today?" I say, "Well, Tony started off the broadcast in the middle of a sentence again." But today, I'm very proud of you. You did not start it in the middle of the sentence.
I said bing, bang, boom right before we started. I was ready.
It was great.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Excellent.
I think I'm realizing I might have a shopping problem during the quarantine.
Do you know your Amazon delivery guy by first name now? Or
I could. I've actually changed it on the requests, and I have written, "Please don't knock on the door," because we get so many packages between me and my husband ordering random things.
What are you ordering?
Well, today I got my Dyson dry bar. No, it's not a Dyson. Scratch that. It's a dry bar blow dryer, but it's like a blow dryer hairbrush. So it styles and blow dries your hair at the same time.
Wow.
I know. I feel like really fancy.
Why do you need this? What is
I don't need it, actually. I realized that I've had my blow dryer in my life longer than I've had my husband in my life.
Oh.
I was like, maybe I should change that.
How long have you and your hubby been together?
4 years? 5 years?
4 years? Oh, I'm glad you're keeping track there. But
we've been married for a year.
But so how long does a normal hair dryer last? I have no idea. I don't blow my hair. Blow dryer.
I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with my blow dryer. So I still kept it. It's just now I have this nifty tool. So I don't have to straighten and blow dry my hair.
Yeah, does it straighten?
Yeah. Would you like to see it?
Yeah, I would love to. This is very exciting for me. So hello everybody. While Keiko goes and gets her whatever this thing is that she's this lovely contraption. Oh wow!
Look at it. It looks like a really large brush.
Oh my god!
And then when you plug it in, it sounds like blow dryer, but then you just like dry your hair.
That is bigger than your head.
I know, it's huge. I didn't expect it to be this big.
Wow.
I didn't.
Like.
Hi, Dad. Hi, Jennifer Stover. Hello, Tracy. Tracy also helped me figure out if I needed it. We both bought it. I didn't, but I bought it anyways.
Did Tracy order one?
No, Tracy did not order one.
Oh, so you were the only one. Is this like your Mother's Day gift? What are you getting for Mother's Day? Mother's Day's coming up. Sunday.
Well, so I guess like I've already gotten my Mother's Day gift because so what I do. Ladies, here's the tip. When I'm bored and I'm like scrolling through Amazon, things I want or think I want, I put in the cart.
Oh, nice.
But like I don't touch them. I just have a habit of like putting it in my cart, then I'll step away, think about if I really want it. And then if I do, I'll come back and like maybe I'll buy it or I'll take it out.
Okay.
And this time I didn't get a chance to go back and like take things out. So I had like a pair of pajamas. I had like facial spa mister. I had a makeup organizer. And my husband bought me all of them. Like he just came in one day and he's like, "Hey, I really think you deserve these things." So I just got everything in the Amazon cart. And I was like, "Happy Mother's Day to me."
That's really nice.
Right? So ladies, take notes. Reggie's here, Reggie Robinson and Sandy. Hello. Thanks for joining us today.
How are you guys doing? How is Reggie Robinson? He's down in Athens-ish, Ohio. How are you doing, Reggie? What's going on down there in Southeast Ohio?
How far is Athens, Ohio?
About an hour and a half from where we are.
Okay.
It's not bad, especially since they put the new road in.
Right.
it takes. I mean, I don't know. It probably takes longer for folks to get things from Amazon. So if they order today, they won't get it for a while.
I feel like I'm on a VIP list now. And now I give your wife some options. What are you guys doing for Mother's Day? People let us know watching.
I'm kind of the gift to my wife. I made her a mother.
How are you?
I made her the mother, so I've done my part. I think.
Did you make her the mother, or did her kids make her the mother?
Well, I helped in some way. I forget how that happened, but somehow I was involved in this whole motherhood thing. So
are you saying that you're not going to do anything for her for Mother's Day?
I've already bought something, and I've got to get 2 cards because Nick has to sign one, and I've got to sign one, and all that kind of stuff. So yes,
you should get her this.
That is so enormous.
I know, but it does 2 in 1.
I don't know. I don't know what that means.
So instead of her taking like an hour to blow dry her hair and then style it, it could take her like half an hour.
See, but my wife's hair is much shorter than yours. So
hair is hair.
And it's like it used to be like one color, and now it's like because of Corona has gone.
Why do you do this?
Right.
No women not want people talking about their roots. You are the sole reason that I buy so many headbands. And why I sit like this so that my roots are hidden.
What is going on there? Let's see that.
No.
What is it? Something like you? Are they gray?
No, they're not gray. They haven't been colored in a while because we've been in quarantine.
So what's going on there? Like, is it
white? My hair is just white.
Excellent. Keiko now is a sales rep for Dry Bar.
Basically, that's who makes this. Today's episode is sponsored by Dry Bar.
Oh, they could be a good sponsor, I bet.
It would be a great sponsor.
So Dry Bar, pony up. Your logo could be right about there. I would absolutely put you there. Well, I found something odd in my drawer today, and I don't know. I'm hoping that people from out in the Facebook land will know. I found this glove, and I don't know what it is used for. It's not broke. It's not torn. It is literally a glove, but it only covers these 2 fingers, and I don't know what it's
not for. A lifting glove, though, right? Like
I haven't lifted anything outside of this aloe drink for years, so
I don't know. I feel like maybe it's a brace.
It's soft. It's like silk.
But it could be a brace.
A brace for it can't. I mean, it doesn't have any kind of like strength to it. Like if I take it off, it just kind of waves.
I don't know.
Anybody know what this is? Michael Jackson. Somebody says.
Tracy says that.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think his was white and sparkly.
Yes.
Or sequins, right?
Yeah, and somebody famous bought it. I think it was Tracy Morgan bought it.
No way.
Yeah, I heard that on an interview.
That's a lot of money.
Tracy Morgan bought Michael Jackson's glove.
Wow.
So
your wife wants to know, which I think is a very valid question. Why was that in your drawer?
Well, I was looking for things, and Brad DeCamp says too legit to quit. I think that's MC Hammer, another one of my influences growing up. I don't know. It just when I was cleaning out my drawer and I found this and an old thing of chapstick and an old video camera. I found an old video camera too. So I don't know what's in this drawer. It's kind of my junk drawer for my desk. So
that sparks a question for me. What was your favorite video game or current video game console?
I love the PS4.
PS4. Okay.
Yeah. So my kid likes the Xbox One, but he wants a Nintendo Switch. So okay. What do you guys play at the Tally abode?
My husband has an Xbox. I have a Wii, but my favorite is Nintendo 64. That was my jam.
Was it? What did you play on it?
Cruisin' USA was my favorite game. 007. Except like when we were younger, and I think my dad is still watching, so he can validate this. My dad would set like timers. So like you can play the video games, but only for 20 minutes. And it's like, obviously I was the youngest. So my brother and my sister would play for like 17 minutes.
Uh-huh. And you would play.
And I got 3.
Oh, that's awful.
Right?
Well, you should have only been 003 instead of 007. Jamie Gaffney asked, why is this in my house even? So,
Exactly.
Mario Kart.
That's also a great game. Used to play that all the time in college.
Wow. We didn't have, like, when I was in college, they, of course, had, like, asteroids and things like that. And, you know, the big things that you had to.
Your wife says it's a glove that allows you to draw on your tablet with your stylus without those covered fingers drawing on your tablet.
Oh. Huh. Who knew? I don't know why I have it, but I do.
Do you have a tablet?
Well, yeah, I've got my iPad.
Yeah.
I don't ever draw on it. I would never draw. I can't draw.
I thought you were all artsy.
Oh God, no.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't do any art. To be honest with you. So, are you excited about going? I mean, do you have an appointment already for your haircut? Have you called?
I did. That was the first thing I did this morning. I checked my email, and my hair salon emailed us saying, like, here's our new precautions. Here's what we're doing. Here's when we're opened. And I was like, booked.
And when are we going to go back to your dark hair?
My hair is dark. Listen, I had a few ladies on here that were agreeing with me that like that's just not an area you get into.
Look, we're honest on this show, if nothing else.
Apparently, we're too honest.
So when is your hair appointment?
May 18th. Hold on, my dog is barking.
Well, May 18th. So after. Well, you know what? As we're talking about hair, I'll be honest. Our guest today has long, flowing locks of beautiful hair, and
that was a great segue.
Thank you very much.
Great segue.
We are so happy to have Dr. Sally Spencer Thomas on our Facebook Live today. And there she is. Look at that beautiful head of hair right there.
Oh, look at those locks.
You all gave me a reason to put on pants today, so I thought I would curl my hair too. There you go.
So, so let me go through who Dr. Sally is. She's a clinical psychologist. She is internationally known in suicide prevention. She is kind of a big deal. If I could bow on Facebook Live, I would. We are so thrilled to have her today to this. And my first question is going to be, have your salons closed? And if so, are they reopening and have you made your appointment?
I don't know. So my family and we kind of fled up into the hills when this whole thing went down. And I have not been paying attention to the hair salons, but eventually, yes, I'll go back. But I'm still up in the hills. So
wow, your hair looks wonderful.
But yes, I have roots, so that's why I sit like this.
It's okay. He also texted me this morning about, oh my God, I'm gonna miss your roots. I was like, no, about them.
In all seriousness, thank you both so much for having me here, and for all the listeners, lower your expectations like 800 degrees. No, I'm very, very glad to be here.
So you live in Colorado and up in the hills. So what have you been doing during quarantine?
Yeah. So, I was in Sedona, Arizona, celebrating my 25th anniversary with my husband right before this happened. And I was one of those people that I was like, really, is this a thing? It kind of sounds like the flu. Why are we all freaked out? And watching everything get canceled, I was frustrated and all this stuff. And then that weekend, I'm sure for many of us, we can remember, it was the middle of March, Italy happened and blah, it got serious and it got real. And then the mama bear in me came out, and I was like, that's it. We're headed to the hills. Protect, protect, protect. And then I lost a week. I don't know what happened. Just completely lost a week. I didn't sleep. I looked at my calendar. I didn't work out. I don't know what the hell I did, but lost a week completely. And then I just kind of settled in. So now it's very isolated up here. We've had like 4 identified cases in the whole county. Oh. So we're pretty safe, pretty isolated. And we're in I'm biased, but in one of the most beautiful places in the world. So that's how I've been coping, is getting outside and walking around and doing some things in nature.
And there really is an ugly place in Colorado.
Oh, it's pretty pretty here. It's pretty pretty. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
I could pick a couple places in Ohio, but I won't say where they are, that are not attractive. But so as you're looking at this, I mean, are you nervous about, are you, there's so many reactions that folks are having. Does this concern you over, some people are scared, some people are protesting, some people are, angry. I mean, what are your thoughts on what's going on?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Pull up that one graph I wanted to show, because I think where we are today tracks pretty well on the phases of disaster curve from SAMHSA, which I have found just really helpful in normalizing everything. So I think, like, when I was talking about my own experience, like we all anticipated this coming for forever, to the point where we're like, is this really a thing? Like, we have anxiety, but we don't really know. And then boom, like all of a sudden everything shot up, and huge adrenaline. You're seeing all kinds of heroic acts. People are connecting with their college friends, and everything's kumbaya. And now we're in the downslope. So now it feels very much like conflict, and we're seeing substance use rates go up and disillusionment, and it's just hard. And so we see this publicly with all of the protests. We're also seeing this in people's households with increased domestic violence, and just people, they're tired of being around one another, and this is just exhausting. So the hope comes for me is if SAMHSA's right, this is a graph from SAMHSA, that we're working our way. We're working our way towards some reconciliation and reconstruction. Mm-hmm. And now we don't know if this is going to hit again. It's looking like it probably will, and then we've got all kinds of economic fallout. So this is a long haul. But I think what we're seeing right now about the conflict and people just being aggravated and frustrated is just to be expected in this part of the curve. And, if we can maybe just work a little harder, perhaps, to understand the needs of the other. That's all I wanted to share on that.
No, that's interesting. Can we bring that back up? Because
sure.
I think it's fascinating that, we are kind of in that disillusionment.
We certainly are. Now, this graph was built upon, things like 9/11 or Katrina, that were kind of crisp types of tragedies or traumas. And clearly this is something of a whole different animal. So we really don't know what we're dealing with. But I do think that this graph can be helpful in just kind of saying, okay, it's not just me. Like, lots of people are going through these different phases. And it's kind of what the brain's doing to kind of work itself out as we're trying to understand what's happening. So, yeah, I found this pretty helpful.
So the 1 year, is 1 year kind of just the average, or is this, what is the up to 1 year?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the scope of the tragedy and the complexity of it. I think about, like, after 9/11, the world kind of pulled together for a period of time. We were definitely in that honeymoon phase for a little bit. It wasn't that it was easy, but we felt a strong sense of solidarity and community as we were trying to help each other. After Katrina, it was a very different experience. We kind of fractured and splintered, and everybody went in different directions. There was a lot more finger pointing. So I think all of those things factor into how long this disillusionment phase lasts. And we're definitely still in the middle of it, really. We don't really know what's happening, and we're all kind of bracing for this, whatever the next wave is going to look like. So chances are good this isn't going to play exactly to our experience, but I hold on to it because of that hope of that reconstruction upswing. Like, it's coming somewhere. It's on the horizon somewhere, maybe, please.
Yeah, and I wonder if when a vaccine's created, whether that'll kind of let us go, a little bit.
Yeah, or if when certain areas are opening and they're having success, and we have clearer guidelines on how to get back to some kind of pattern of a routine that we're familiar with, I think that'll also give us a chance to exhale. I think that part about working through the grief is also really important right now. We have so many graduating seniors, weddings, like major milestone events that we are not participating in the way that we usually do. So that grief of those missed experiences that are going to be really hard to get back in the future. We're also experiencing that right now as we're going through this toxic stress. So it's not playing out exactly as this curve, but I still think it's helpful to think about it.
I've seen a few people doing like drive-by weddings.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I heard so many people being upset, like, oh, I had postponed my wedding. I was so excited. And then just recently, I started seeing like drive-by weddings, or like instead of like this big wedding they were planning, they just do like their immediate family, and then everyone else comes next year,
Right.
for their anniversary.
Or I've seen like graduating seniors walk down the center of the street in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
We had my dad's virtual 82nd birthday party. We all got dressed up in costumes and, had a whole theme about classic movies. People are getting creative, I think, and how to still celebrate these milestones when we can't be together.
Mm-hmm. I know for my mom's birthday, she had a birthday last month, and all of us like sent in different video messages, either singing happy birthday or like wishing her a happy birthday. And we put it all together, and like we gave her that since nobody could be together.
That's sweet.
And so like that came together in like a long video. And then for my aunt, we did like a surprise Zoom birthday party. It's like, and it's surprisingly fun.
Yeah, it was fun. We did a classic movie trivia, which of course my dad was the only one to be able to answer the questions. Like, I don't know what these things are. And we made classic cocktails. We got, all got dressed up in classic movie star outfits. I mean, it was hilarious. It was pretty
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, but my heart does go out for the loss, the feelings of loss of, people who worked really hard to graduate, or the people who can't be with the birth of their grandchild, or, whatever it is when you can't get those experiences back. It's just one layer of grieving that we have here. There's, of course, many other deeper, more profound ones of losing loved ones, and the fear of what's going to happen with the economy and small businesses closing and all kinds of layers of this tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything like, what is the first thing when we're open back up? What's the first thing you want to do?
See, I'm not even there yet. I kind of got a little content here. So one of the lessons that I've learned through all of this, I took a course many years ago, 15 years ago. I took a course called Voluntary Simplicity, and I failed it miserably. Like, I could not seem to simplify my life. I couldn't get it. And now here I'm forced into simplicity, and it's not so bad. Like, we fled up here. I had one suitcase. So I've been wearing the same clothes for 6 weeks. I have, we haven't gone out to eat. We've been making all our food, in the wilderness. It's kind of nice. And it has taken me away from some of the cravings of things that I really didn't need, that were just kind of jamming up my space and spending money and stuff. So I haven't really had like locally the desire to go back to something. I had a pretty amazing social calendar for this time. And one of the things was my husband and my 25th anniversary. We had planned for, a good 10 years of what we were going to do. It was a dream come true trip. So I think that'll be the first thing that I'll look forward to when we can get to travel internationally again, is just to go back, even just to plan that again. Who knows when we'll be able to do it. But yeah.
Where were you going to go?
Costa Rica. Yeah, I had a dream of Costa Rica and staying in tree houses and visiting with the monkeys and, going on hikes and that kind of thing. And we'll just have to wait to do that again another day.
So Europe, we're going to Europe. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, not so much.
Your simplicity doesn't include a big hair dryer on a comb, right? Like Keiko does, right?
No, I told you I did my hair just for you. Usually it's ball cap, and I'm hanging out my sweats, and yeah, no,
Good idea. Listen, if you need a new styling tool.
thank you. I take note. It's very very colorful. Yeah, I actually think though the thing I'm probably looking forward to most, and I will get to do it this weekend, is hugging my parents. So my parents are 82 and they only live an hour away. My dad took this seriously early on, and so they've just been hunkered down for forever. And my in-laws live in a retirement community. They can't even leave their apartment. So we've been Zooming with them every night, which has been fun. So we've actually been talking to them more than we usually do. But it's not the same when you can't hug them. So because it's Mother's Day and we've been, sequestered for a long period of time. We're all healthy. We're going to go down and spend it with them. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see them.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Great. So how would someone, that already has, anxiety issues and maybe, some depression and a good walk helps with those issues or getting out and kind of having some time together with friends. I mean, what would you tell though, folks who are struggling with that right now?
Yeah. So, of course, everybody's got their own pathways to managing their emotional situations. But what I have found to be true for me and a number of other people is that when you're in this really dysregulated time, having a routine certainly helps. Mm-hmm. And I front load my routine with all kinds of solid self-care stuff. So at least I'm giving my day a fighting chance to be calm enough to be productive and centered enough to be super annoying to the family members that I'm crammed into this small place with. So I get up at the same time I would normally, which is very ridiculously early, but I'm an early bird. And then I go for a walk, and then I do all these meditation things, and I run, and I and then I'm like, okay, this kind of feels like a normal day. So that would be one thing, is just to develop a routine, because if you're staying up binge watching till 2:00 in the morning, you're not given that next day a fighting chance of you feeling solid. Mm-hmm. I think another thing is really about sleep. Either it's the anxiety or the dysregulation in the routine, but people are not sleeping terribly well. Mm-hmm. So we have to get back to that practice. And then I think the final thing that has been really helpful is to focus on how to help others. Mm-hmm. This is something we've learned around resilience and trauma for a really long time. It's understandable that we get into this phase where we are self-protective and hoarding toilet paper and, grabbing the things and get off my lawn and all that stuff. But we know from decades and decades of research, all the way back to Viktor Frankl, that, if you can look up out of your self-protective mode and help other people, you're going to be far better off in the long run. So what are some small intentional acts of kindness? How can you, volunteer or donate to serve the common good? I think all of those can really help us through, even though we're still living through this really hard time.
Mm-hmm. And we talked a little bit about positive psychology.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. So I like to think of positive psychology as the mental fitness workout that we do to strengthen our mental muscle. So if you think about resilience, that's what we're trying to strive for. Being the end goal. And by resilience, I mean that when you are hit with something difficult, you are more quickly to bounce back up or even overshoot where you were before, grow through some difficult things. And that kind of depends in some degree on how strong your mental muscle was before the hard thing hit. And yeah, some people are born with stronger resilience, but a lot of it we can just learn through daily practices. And so if you think about it as a mental muscle, right? We have these daily practices, these 4 B's that I talk with. These are like your little workout strategies that you can do every day or try to do every day. It's not possible sometimes to do this, just like it's not possible to do your regular fitness routine every day. But if you think about it with the other parts of our health, we're going to try to strive for developing strength by like lifting weights. We're going to try to develop endurance by doing some cardiovascular things over the long period. And we're going to try to improve our flexibility by doing things like yoga and stretching. Well, it's the same thing here with the mental muscle. So positive psychology is about building up the mental muscle by building up our emotional strength by doing some things, by building up our flexibility, and by building up our endurance. So these are the 4 workouts. And very briefly, I have a whole day workshop that I do on this. But the first one is about being bold and understanding that fear response that we all experience is based on a physical life and death fear. But we experience the same thing when, the quote unquote saber-toothed tiger is a teacher or a parent or a partner or a love interest or somebody who's going to judge us. We get that same reaction. So the first one about being bold is to notice that and say, I see you, fear. And I'm grateful that you're here because your job is to protect me. But I'm going to tell you a thing. I'm not in physical danger right now. I'm just afraid of fill in the blank. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of rejection. I'm afraid of humiliation. I'm afraid of whatever. Feel the fear and step into the arena anyways. And so there's many times that we face this where we don't take on a challenge or we don't have a conversation because we have these uncomfortable experiences of fear going on. So the being bold piece is about intentionally stepping into that fear. And even maybe risking rejection or risking failure, because we're going to live through it and we're going to learn things from it. The second thing is about belonging, knowing that the people we surround ourselves with are absolutely essential to our wellness. Who's on your A team? Who are you calling at 3 o'clock in the morning? Who do you trust to come over and be there for you? We are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Who's in your boat? Have you chosen the right people for your best outcome? So belonging is about your social circles and how you connect with them. Be well is obviously about wellness. And again, I'm going to highlight of all the things around wellness, physical wellness. Sleep is a huge priority. The more we learn about sleep, the more we learn it's directly connected to things like suicidal thoughts. It's also connected to Alzheimer's. So really focusing on improving your sleep in addition to our emotional and spiritual and cognitive wellness. And then the last B is about believing. And this is about really holding on to a belief that whatever it is that we're going through, there's something on the other side. And there's something that we don't know what it's coming yet or what it's going to be, but there's something on the other side of our distress or despair that if we're open to it will be something that we grow from, learn from, or whatever. And that's, again, a conscious aspect of your positive psychology practice is to hold on to that hope, hold on to that belief. So I'll just pause there. That was a lot.
No, and I think about, fear is an overriding factor during this time. I think about the folks who are protesting, I think they're fearful about job loss and financial stressors and all of those types of things. And then other folks who are happy with the quarantine and want to stay in, they're fearful about going out and getting this disease. So, fear, I think, is really driving a lot of people's emotions. Is that right?
That's right. And so because it is a life and death physical fear, that fear has a reason to be there. It's not just fear of humiliation or fear of rejection. It's, fear that if I go out and I get exposed to the wrong thing, I could get sick or I could get my family sick or we could die, right? So that's very, very primal. That's a very primal fear. And for people who are already wired maybe with a little bit of germophobia or OCD, like this just kicks it into high gear. Like this is the worst fear and it's come true. And then, from an economic standpoint, there's reality out there. This isn't just delusion. Like businesses are closing, children are hungry. There's a lot of reality-based fear here, not just the social fears that are uncomfortable but not life-threatening. So part of the thing to do is just to discern, like, am I really physically in danger right now? Mm-hmm. If not, then thank you, fear, for doing your job. I need to put you over to the side right here so that I can focus on making good decisions for myself and others around me. I think when we fight fear, just like anything else, like when we fight it, it comes back hard. But when we kind of come along upside it and notice it and be grateful for it, it doesn't have quite so much power. At least that's what's working for me today. Ask me in a month or so, I might have a different theory.
So we were saying, like, it's more beneficial, because I know that they talk a lot about this in meditation. It's more beneficial to acknowledge the fear, be like, okay, I'm afraid of this. Got it. we're gonna move forward and we're gonna kind of come past it.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, no, I'm not afraid. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. So it's more like, I see you, fear.
Right.
I see you, fear. I know why you're here. Thanks for trying to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. I'm okay right now in this moment, but thanks for showing up. I know you're trying to do your job, but we're okay right now. You know what I'm saying? So rather than saying, I will not be afraid. I will not be afraid. No, I got you. You have absolutely a right to be here. I know what you're trying to do, but we're okay. Yeah, that's it.
Well, and with this, the financial fear, I think it's the economy was humming along pretty good.
I know.
And then all of a sudden, boom.
Right.
2 months ago, people were spending and everything was.
I know. So this does concern me a lot from the suicide prevention standpoint, because I do most of my work in workplace suicide prevention. And you were right. We were jamming. Like people were building stuff, people were investing, and people were feeling this element of success. And when the fall seems so great, this is a common theme throughout all of suicide risk. When the fall seems so great, like I had it and then I lost it, or I was part of this thing and now I'm not, people's identities really get rattled. And so that's the part of the economic crisis that I think we're still trying to sort out, with the payroll protection plans and the stimulus thing. And now we're reopening. Are we going to bounce back? I think, there's certain sectors that are holding on and hoping for the best. But the chances are good that a lot of people will be unemployed for a while. A lot of things like restaurants and arts, it's going to be a really hard thing to pull them back. And so then what happens then, if that was not just your job, but that was your identity, it was your family's business for generation, or it was, if you're an athlete, it's what you've trained your whole life for, right? The Olympics, right? So when the fall seems so great, that's often where people are in trouble. So the pivot then is, who are you beyond that? Who can you be beyond that? As a small of many pivots that we need to make, is to figure out what your identity is beyond that one thing that you were doing.
Yeah, and talking to farmers, you talk about, losing the family business. I've talked to farmers, and that's their largest fear, is that they have generations that they have owned this land, farmed this land. And, in Ohio, last spring was awful. I mean, was just terrible. And, talking to farmers, it's like, I'm going to be the one who loses 150 years of success.
That's right.
So tough.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, farmers as I know them are also really gritty and persevering. And so if anybody's going to make it through, it's going to be the farmers. But yeah, I mean, when it's, when the fall seems so great, generations and generations have been made it through the Depression and then the droughts and, So that gives people sometimes an additional incentive to say, well, not on my watch, and let's see what we can figure out here. But yeah, some different industries are going to be hit really hard by this, and it's going to take a long time for them to rebound. So hopefully there's some ways where people can pull together, pivot, and find a new pathway through.
I got a call, I don't know, a week and a half ago from a mom of a 10-year-old little girl. And she was asking about resources for, because I guess this little girl had said, she told her mom, I want to kill myself because if I wasn't around, dad had lost a job. If I wasn't around, then you wouldn't have to feed me. It would be one less mouth to feed. I mean, how are kids getting through this? And as a parent, are there things that, how do you talk to your kids about this?
Yeah, I think we're all trying to figure it out, but to have just common conversations about this is an uncertain time. We're all going through this together. We're pulling together as a family to try to figure out what we need to do to keep you safe. I think for kids, now that many of them have lost the routine and the social pieces of school, the best that we can recreate that, and it's hard. Like I've got a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 15-year-old, and trying to get them back on a routine where they're getting up, brushing their teeth, eating breakfast, doing their schoolwork. it's a losing battle sometimes, but I know what routines do for us.
Mm-hmm.
They really give us a sense of predictability, which we don't have in other spaces in our life right now, and a sense of safety and control. I know what to expect in this day. So I think that would be one thing, to normalize their fears, to say they're valid, and yet that they're safe for this moment, that they have people around them who love them, and that they can be reassured that they're going to be cared for in the best possible way. That's usually where, especially young children's fears come up, or when they feel like they can't trust the adults around them to keep them safe. Mm-hmm. So getting some of that reassurance from the caring adults matters. And then however we can recreate like fun things we used to do with kids, we have to try to figure that out. So playing games online, or we were doing some family painting classes here in our little cabin. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. I can't tell you that my boys enjoyed it, but they tolerated me for an afternoon. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. They're like, oh, Mom, no, really. Yeah, and then helping them connect to their friends too. I mean, I know they're so interconnected now, but I picked up on the Zoom chat thing way before my boys did, because I had been doing it for work. You know, I knew how to do it, and my friends knew how to do it. And so we just started doing it. And it was probably 2 or 3 weeks later that my kids started doing it with their friends. So I think that's the gist. And my heart breaks for that little girl, mm-hmm. To think about her family situation in that way. But I bet she's in some ways picking up on the despair of her dad, mm-hmm. Or anybody who has an identity that's really strong as provider. Mm-hmm. That's who they are. They provide or they protect. Like that identity right now can be very, very threatened. And so she's probably picking up on that. Like if I wasn't a burden to him, mm-hmm. then he wouldn't have to be so sad, because he wouldn't have to provide for me.
Do you have any tips for parents? Like, I know that we say like you should kind of face the fear and acknowledge it. But like in a situation like this where it might be, your kids are picking up on, how much anxiety you have or how upset you are about things. Do you have any tips for parents on how they can kind of better cope with that, to set that example for their kids?
So they're not modeling their own fear. Yeah, that's a hard one, because we're all in this, right? We are all feeling this fear. Before that, I do say there's a couple of children's books that got published really quickly that can give parents some tools on how to talk with kids. I don't have the titles up in front of me, but I can probably find them quickly and share them in some kind of notes to you later. But yes, okay. So let's talk about the parent's emotional regulation. I've certainly, as I'm certain many of you have had the sleepless nights, the surges of the anxiety through all of this, and I've learned a couple of hacks that I think can be really helpful. And I'm going to share with you my favorite one, because I don't know that many people know it, and it works incredibly well. Maybe you all have already heard of this, but it was new to me, so now I share it everywhere I go. It's called the mammalian dive reflex. The mammalian dive reflex. And I'm sure everybody's like, what the hell is she saying? Mammalian dive reflex. So we are mammals, and we have this reflex that evolved over millennia to prevent us from drowning. And so it works like this. You've all experienced it. If you've ever jumped into a really cold body of water, like a pond or a lake or a river or a cold pool or a cold shower, right? You get this shock response. That's the mammalian dive reflex. It is what prevents us from drowning. When kids fall into pools and they're under for a long time and they survive, it's because of this. Or when people walk across ice and they fall into a river and they're under for a really long time and they live, it's because of this reflex. Very quickly, the body shuts down. So especially with cold water, when it hits us, especially in the face, the body goes through this deacceleration thing really quickly. So within about 30 seconds to a minute, you can witness heartbeat coming down, the need for respiratory breaths coming down. And it's what we call a very quick emotional reset. Very quick emotional reset. So if you're in a panic mode, if you are feeling out of control, a surge of anxiety, whatever it is, even a surge of suicidal thoughts, my recommendation is find some cold water, stick your face in it. And within 30 seconds, you'll feel differently. You'll feel calmer. When we get out of that cold shower, that really cold pool, we kind of feel awesome.
Mhm.
And that's because our body has reset itself to a much calmer, centered state. So that's one. Now, obviously, if you're running to cold showers every 5 minutes, the kids are going to go, what the heck are they doing?
Right.
But if it's in the middle of the night and you're not sleeping, it's one thing you can do to calm yourself down. Yeah. Another thing is really to manage the cognitive overload, which is also hard. Different people do that through different strategies. One is, the box breathing, just kind of getting yourself into a steady, slow breathing practice. Another one that I like to do is, take out a piece of paper, put two circles, a circle in the middle, a circle on the outside. In the middle, you write down the things you actually have control over, which is you. You have control over you. You have control over the choices that you make and what you say and what you do. And then outside of that, that's out of your control. So to relinquish perceived control over that and just focus on what you actually have control over, which is your own, what comes out of your mouth and what your body actually does. So those are just a couple of things. I also think that exercise is really helpful for discharging pent up emotion. So we're saying, do 20, 20, and 20. Okay. So you're pacing around, you're very anxious. Do 20 squats, do 20 jumping jacks, do 20 crunches. It's going to take you 2 minutes. And the chances are good that after that, you'll feel a little discharge. So these are all things that can be done within just under 5 minutes that, trial and error it for yourself. See what sticks, what works for you, and then do more of what helps.
I eat 20 Oreos at a time.
Yeah, follow on your exercise.
Yes, I do.
Your hands.
I love all the videos that are coming out about people rating their refrigerators in various forms, or like putting up signs on their refrigerators like, you're not hungry, you're bored, go back to something else.
I actually saw somebody posted on their Instagram that they wrote a note on their fridge of everything that was in their fridge, and then another note next to it of what they needed, like to get from the store. And I was like, oh, that's smart. Like, you're keeping a shopping list. And she's like, no, it's stopping me from eating everything in the fridge because we're not going out every day to the store. I'm like, oh, that's even smarter.
Oh, I think my favorite one too is this male model. He comes out and he goes to visit his fridge, and every time he has his blanket like draped across him in a different way, and then he's got these big old sparkly heels he puts on. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious! Like doing his model runway walk down his kitchen aisle to go to his fridge to pick out, ice cream.
Think about yourself when you're stuffing your face.
Yes. Oh, that just brings up a whole nother suite of hacking things to do. So you can't dance and be upset. At some point, dancing is a counter behavior to being upset. You can't laugh and be upset. So put on a funny movie.
Are you listening to that? I say it all the time because it's from anatomy. 30-second dance party. When you can't figure something out, you just dance it out. And I would randomly start dancing, and Tony used to make fun of me.
No, it's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah, even smiling, like forcing yourself to smile, does something in your brain that goes, "Why are we smiling? Are we supposed to be happy here?" So it's, yeah.
Now I realize, okay, because she would come in my office and do. I mean, she's no Gene Kelly either. Yeah, it's that stuff.
Yeah.
And
so
it was, I thought she had a fit or something, and it was just.
I would just be having a normal conversation and be like, so listen, I'm trying to think things through, and I just don't know what to order for lunch. Like, what are you doing here? I gotta dance it out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, my kids are horrified by my alternative 80s music that I love, but that's what we're going to play as we're setting the table, because that gets me, transitions me from work day to family time.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, no, it's torture for them, but works for me.
So what do you listen, like what 80s alternative music, who's your jam?
Yeah. It horrifies the rest of my family, including my husband, who we're about the same age, but he was more of a punk rocker, but I'm more of like Depeche Mode, The Cure. Yeah, that's my jam.
Mm-hmm. Cinderella, I like the hair metal stuff. That's cool stuff. That's when the men were men and or something. I don't know.
And they had gorgeous hair. Right.
Right, absolutely they did. Lots of Aquanet.
Yes, and things tied around here, which I never like really understood, but it's
Like
good.
bandanas?
Or ties or stuff. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think of Brett Michaels.
I'm thinking like Steve Tyler.
Okay, Steven Tyler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of banners and ribbons and ties and things.
I was at I went with a friend to LA and saw Great White in the Whiskey and Go like a year ago, and it was that doesn't work when you're 60 years old though. If they're coming down to here was frightening. Yeah.
Yeah. But good for them. Good for them.
Yes.
Good for them. Yes. Body confidence. All good. All good.
They still sounded good. They really did. For Great White. So, what was I going? I was going to ask before I got off on the Great White thing.
Tangent. This is what happens with trauma brain. How many people have experienced this? I was going to say the thing, or what was I just doing?
In all seriousness, because my husband last night, I'm starting to scare myself because I'll be like, oh, I have to go get that from the room. And I'll walk into the room and I'll be like, wait, why am I here? And it's literally just like a minute later. And I said, like, I kept doing it. I think there were like 5 different things that happened last night. And I was like, I'm really starting to scare myself. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
No, I think we all get a pass. I think we get a pass, like a 6-month pass to be ditzy and forget stuff and be unproductive. We're just getting a pass because actually what's happening is the amygdala, when we're in a fear state, the amygdala is working overtime. Are we safe? Are we safe? Are we safe? And from the body's perspective, that's way more important than did you remember to brush your teeth or, what were you going to gather from the laundry room? Right. So the brain's like, yeah, don't worry about that. We just want to make sure you live through today. So we get a serious, or maybe 12 months, maybe a 12-month pass just to be forgetful and unproductive.
Tony.
Hit a pass. The next time you forget something, you've actually not forgotten. You've not forgotten any work. I'm very proud.
Actually, for work, in keeping with like routines, when I was at the office, every Monday morning, I would come in before our morning meeting, and I would make a list of the things that I wanted to get done that week. And then when we went into the meeting, if I added to that, I would rewrite the list, and I put it right next to my computer. Now that we're home, I do that in my notebook, and then after our Monday meeting, I write it in my computer. I have like sticky notes on my computer. And so like throughout the week, I can like check things off because I am terrible at forgetting things. I always have to write them down. But like I need the visual reminder. Mm-hmm. So I haven't forgotten work stuff because I write everything down on my computer.
Mm-hmm. Good. Coping by overcompensating for a distracted brain. Yeah. Well, going back to the ideas of positive psychology, I just want to hit on a couple of others. There's a partner that I work with called Kind Hub or Project Helping. Oh, see, memory loss there. Project Helping. And they've crafted their whole community interventions around positive psychology, both in the community and in workplaces. And basically it's incentivizing and encouraging and celebrating people doing things like intentional acts of kindness and gratitude and, just all of the positive things that make us feel good. But when we're stressed, we're like, I don't have time for that. I don't feel like being nice. I'm grumpy and I'm tired and I'm overwhelmed. But here's what we know about the brain. You start moving yourself in that direction. Other people feel better and you feel better about making other people feel better. Mm-hmm. So that whole cycle starts to work up. And again, this is also another thing with the kids, right? So if the kids can do a small act of kindness for grandma or for the neighbor or, bring cookies over or whatever it is, they will also feel like it's not hopeless. Mm-hmm. They have some agency over their happiness. They can do something that's kind and then they can feel good and they can also feel connected through that. So that's I think a good thing to think about. This is what Viktor Frankl taught us. Lift your head up, look at what other people need. You help them, you help yourself.
What about employee? You say you talk to a lot of workplaces.
Mm.
I was on a board call today, and we talked about, okay, we're going to open up possibly June 1st, where we'll all come back into the office, and we went down the. Do you have masks? Oh God, I gotta get masks. Oh, hand sanitizer. Okay. Are you going to have someone come in and professionally clean? Do you have thermometers? Do you, as someone, it's like, oh my God, I don't have any of this. Someone, these employers who are coming back, I mean, is there anything you could give advice on coming back?
Mm-hmm. So what trauma does for us, it's upsetting to us. It shakes up our core belief systems because it really threatens these ideas that we walk around with in the world most days, which is the world is a predictable place. I'm a good person. Bad things don't happen to good people. I have control over my life. I know where we're headed. Like all of that's out the window right now. So our predictability, our sense of safety, and our sense of control is like shattered pieces on the ground. Mm-hmm. So when I'm coaching workplace leaders on what to do as we're supporting our workforce is as best you can offer small pieces of predictability, safety, and control, and get creative with it. So do we know if the business is going to be viable in 3 months? No, we don't. But you know what? I can tell you tomorrow morning at 9, we're going to have a briefing. That you can count on, right? So create opportunities that are predictable for the workforce. Safety. Obviously, all the things you just listed about people's physical safety are important, but also the psychological safety. Having leaders frame this around that, especially that we're in disillusion, that people's fuses are short. So we're going to work really hard to make this a psychologically safe environment, which means we're going to try really hard to listen to one another, and we're going to ask for clarification rather than making assumptions, and all of these communication strategies that help people feel safe. And then control, when your control's been taken away from you, it's not fun. It increases anxiety. So again, small spaces where you can allow for control. And by that, I mean offering people small choices. Do you want to start on Monday or Tuesday? Should we move your desk over here or over there? Whatever it is, tiny little mundane choices. This is also good for parenting. Could really help people feel, again, they have some sense of agency. So predictability, safety, and control as overriding themes as people are thinking about the emotional safety of their workforce.
Wow. That is something, yeah, because I never, all of that, and it was like, wow, I never thought of any of that. It just, you think, okay, on Monday morning or
right,
whatever,
just flip the switch, we're open again.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, even like do you have the tape?
Psychological.
Say it again.
It's interesting, like, to put in there, like, we're going to make this a safe psychological space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So in addition to your
employers think about that
tape on the floor of everybody sitting 6 feet apart, are there other things you can do for that same kind of sense of safety from a psychological standpoint? Yeah.
Wow. Why did you choose? I mean, you're obviously brilliant. Why did you choose this field? I mean, I guess I'd like to know. I like to know people a little bit.
Yeah. So, of course, nobody gets into suicide prevention for the money. No, almost all of us have a pathway to it from a personal experience. So I was a psychologist. I am a psychologist. I was trained as a psychologist and then realized after all that graduate school that I loved learning about it, but I didn't actually love doing therapy, that my brain was more set up to be an entrepreneur, actually, to find big problems and figure out solutions and change things in the community. So being in an office all day was really stifling to me. So I stopped doing that. I started doing leadership development at a university. I loved it. They let me set up and create this whole leadership program for the students. It was a really good use of my psychology degree. And just as that was kind of really getting into this space where I felt like, yes, I have found my thing, my brother died. My brother died by suicide. My brother Carson was a 34-year-old business leader, father of 2, and I loved him dearly. And so this was just absolutely devastating and crushing for me. And it's a whole nother story, but I knew he was in trouble. He had bipolar condition, and he came back to the family, and we had hope that he was coming back to kind of really work on his mental health, but I think he just came back to say goodbye. So in the aftermath of his death, our family and his friends and our grief reaction, which is not uncommon, resolved to do something. And what we really wanted to do was figure out bold gap filling things that would prevent from happening to Carson from happening to other people. Now, at the time of his death, I had been in the field of mental health about 16 years, and I'd had really good training. I'd had good internships and good experiences, but nobody really told me that the prototypical person to die would be somebody like my brother, a white man in the working aged years. So that seemed like a pretty important gap to fill. And back then, 2005, when we looked out and we saw what was happening, there was not a whole lot happening with that demographic. So we started to do some bold gap filling work. We said, okay, whatever we've been doing so far has been missing these guys, because not only are they dying at high numbers and high rates, but they have never stepped foot in any kind of mental health services. They actually don't even see their despair and distress through a mental health framework. They don't see themselves as depressed or anxious. They understand that they have a very overwhelming world. So that kind of led to two different bodies of work that have been really rewarding for me in terms of making meaning out of this really devastating tragedy. One was about man therapy, and I know Ohio has had man therapy for a while. So using humor and digital media to encourage men to self-screen so that they can then check it out for themselves. How bad is it with their depression, anxiety, substance use, and anger? And then we can triage them to different types of resources. That was one. And then the other was, if we're going to reach kids in schools, we're going to reach working age adults in the workplace. Mm-hmm. We were a little ahead of our time, I think, when we came up with that, because it was a little slow traction in the beginning. But now that the CDC has come out with, identifiable reports ranking industry by suicide rate, it has been a very engaged place to be for suicide prevention.
And I know that I value your time so much. I had one more question. I don't know
Sure.
what Keiko had. But so, and I heard this in your answer, that the tragedy, of losing your brother kind of changed your trajectory. We're still in the mental health field, but it really changed your trajectory about where you were going career-wise. I mean, is this something that we might expect with COVID as well, that maybe we're going on one path and all of a sudden, wow, this terribly emotional thing has happened. Maybe I don't want to do this job anymore. I mean,
yeah. No, I think that's what trauma does for us. It really shakes up those core beliefs of who we think we are and what we think we're supposed to be doing. And it really makes us stare in the face the question of, who am I? Mm-hmm. and why am I here? And when you're looking at your own mortality, it does make you question, like, what are you supposed to be doing? Because it's not going to last forever. Yeah. And that's where you see either relationships start or end. People have different careers. People have spiritual awakenings. This is this whole thing about post-traumatic growth. Mm-hmm. This is how it comes to be, is because we get face to face with that really important question: who am I and why am I here? Mm-hmm. So we could see on that reconciliation and reconstruction phase of that graph some really beautiful things coming out of this. We already are. I mean, like, just look at the helpers. They're amazing what they've been able to do, and different pockets of incredible selflessness in serving the common good. So we're already seeing some beautiful things coming out of this in pockets. I'm wondering, like you are, how are we going to fare as a country? Mm-hmm. Are we going to come through this reconstruction phase stronger and focused on some bigger, deeper questions of our nation's values and priorities? Or are we just going to continue to fight and drag each other in through the mud? I'm hoping for the former. That would be great.
Me too.
Yeah. Do you have anything, Keiko?
No, I think you answered anything I had. I mean, I think we covered a lot.
We did cover a lot. We were hither and yon and over and around, and it was a ton of fun. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We are so grateful for you and for all that you do. And I don't know if you're the lady I talked to, I email with back and forth, but I would love for you to. I don't know your availability. We were trying to set up dates, but I'd love for you to be a keynote. So maybe we'll be in October.
That would be phenomenal, and I would love to do it. And Ohio is in good hands with you all. So thanks all for all your work as well. Ohio is one of the leaders, as far as I'm concerned, in adopting new ideas and taking them on boldly. So thank you. Thanks for all of that.
Thanks, Sally.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.